Even in the long line of controversial tweets that Trump has come out with, I think what he has said today may well rank among the very worst, and that's saying something for this president. So, in a series of tweets, Trump has actually encouraged the armed militias. These are armed militias, or at least they see themselves as militias. I would suggest there's something else. Um, to insurrection. President of the United States has basically, I can't even believe I'm saying this, called for armed insurrection, encouraged armed insurrection in the middle of a pandemic. So in the series of tweets, he was saying, liberate Michigan, liberate Minnesota, liberate, there's a string of other states, take back your great Second Amendment rights. What this man is doing is dangerous, is dishonest, and is unpardonable. I saw this on a post by Beto O'Rourke, so I thought, okay, he's a Democrat. That might be what you'd expect on a Democratic page, but this is being reported in other sources as well. And it's despicable. It's utterly, utterly despicable that when Democratic governors are taking measures that can save lives, that are being used around the world, that employ common sense, that are not imprisoning people, but simply trying to have a measure of the social distancing imposed in order to save lives. Trump endorses a conspiracy theory that this is some sort of attack on freedom, and it's despicable. Let's look at Trump's handling of this because a lot's been made about his spat with China in recent days. Um, no, I'm a major, major critic of China. I'm pleased to see that President Macron has joined the growing chorus of critics of China. And here in the UK, Dominic Raab has once again said that we need a serious reset with Beijing. I still maintain that this entire crisis can ultimately come down to China's doorstep. So I still see the Chinese Communist Party as the biggest villains in in this story. But Trump's response to this has absolutely been nothing to boast about at all. The fact that his administration blocked flights from China, the fact that he has been robustly criticizing China, the fact that he's withdrawn funding from the World Health Organization, all sounds like assertive measures. Now, of those three things, only one of them I would applaud really, which is stopping flight from China. That was a practical measure that was justified. And I think the Democrats were wrong to make that a racism issue when any Democratic president would have done the same thing. So I do think it's wrong for the Democrats to focus on that. The Democrats also don't come out of this squeaky clean when they called for example, the Chinese New Year celebrations to go ahead in New York City. The Democrats also have difficult questions to answer, but they're not in office. A Republican president is. And this particular Republican president, his positions on China would be admirable if it wasn't for the fact that only a few weeks ago, Trump was praising China. He was praising their great handling of this and refuting that there'd been a cover up. Now he's changing his tune. This is important because it is once again a reminder of how inconsistent this president is. The man is a liar. From the start of this crisis, how did he initially respond? He dismissed the experts, he blamed fake news, he blamed the Democrats. He said there'd be no deaths in the US or minimal deaths. The United States has now had 35,000 deaths plus. China has probably had a lot more than it claims, although they did raise the death toll in Wuhan today, I noticed. So the official death toll in China is now over 4,600 officially. It's probably a lot higher than that, and it might well be higher than the United States toll. Nevertheless, of those countries where we have some indication of what the toll is, and we can't be sure on this because more people will have died in care homes, but the United States has a very serious problem, 35,000 plus deaths. Um, so when I see armed men gathering in state capitol steps to threaten insurrection and to see the president endorsing this, it's scary. And yes, the United States isn't the only country where you have these sort of elements. I mean, in Canada, there was the group in Vancouver that were protesting against the lockdown. In Britain, we've had the lunatics who are burning down 5G masts. I have no respect for them. I think they're idiots. I think their conspiracy theory has no basis in fact. And it wouldn't just be a harmless different point of view because they're actually destroying communication lines. It's vandalism. Um, but the way this president has responded to this, those who are very, very critical of China and believe the West has been pandering to China for too long should not see Donald Trump as the answer to that. Yes, he's tough on China, but he's also praised China. Bottom line is Donald Trump is inconsistent. Um, and I really don't believe that this man can be trusted as a leader of the free world. I don't consider Donald Trump a leader of the free world. I wouldn't say there's any one individual who is at the moment, but Donald Trump has not been a leader at all. He has been nothing but a disgraceful demagogue pitching to his own base. And here's the thing, this is maybe to talk about further down the line, but unless Donald Trump can get beyond his base, he won't get re-elected. Maybe he knows that. So maybe he's just saying, to hell with it, I'll just say whatever I want. It's very difficult to know what goes on in the mind of Donald Trump, but I think it's very, very possible to be very critical of the Chinese regime and how they've covered this, even critical of the World Health Organization. But there is a point with this, Trump's pulling out of funding. To those who are justifying that because of the World Health Organization coziness with China, I would say, okay, I understand that argument, but consider this. What's going to happen now? With no American funding, i.e., less American influence there, China's just going to infiltrate even further. And they can potentially now portray the Americans as the bad guys. They can say, well, look, the world's most powerful country has withdrawn funding. Those heartless Americans, referring to the American government, don't care about people. So they can kind of move in there and get even more influence. I think a better strategy may have been to call for the resignation of Tedros Adhanom or just increase the rhetoric on China's um, infiltration of the World Health Organization, but totally withdrawing funding, I think that could backfire badly, and I'm not convinced it was the right move. Some might say, well, the United States gives the most money to the WHO, and it does. But the problem is that isn't punishing China. That's punishing the rest of the world. That's not a rebuke to China or even to the World Health Organization. I think it just means that that money that could be spent on helping America's allies is being impacted. I really am not convinced that was the best move to make. Um, I think there was other ways that he could have targeted the World Health Organization. But now all it does is allow China to play the victim and move in there. And there is speculation there could have been another outbreak in China. We don't know. So this is very disillusioning. This man has to be removed from the White House in November because he is such a liability. His ego, his reckless Twitter rants. I just cannot believe that an American president is calling for insurrection. I can't think of a time this has happened, ever. If we look at another controversial Republican president, Richard Nixon, with him it was the opposite. It was putting down insurrection. And I'm not saying that was right or wrong, but no president, Democrat or Republican, has ever come out with this sort of attitude. that I can think of. In fact, the last American president to do so was the only president of the Confederate States of America, Jefferson Davis. It's just astonishing. And sure, politics is a dirty game. There will be a lot of partisan things going on, and the Democrats aren't squeaky clean. They do it as well. So, for example, when they called Trump's travel ban on China a racist thing, that was ridiculous. Um, but this is just, I mean, let's say one of these militia types tries to, really go to their head and they try to assassinate a Democratic governor. It's not implausible. Look at Congresswoman Giffords after the infamous bullseye thing that Sarah Palin endorsed. So it's not inconceivable. If that happens, Donald Trump will directly have blood on his hands. So it's really very, very strange times we're living in where the two most powerful countries in the world, one has helped spread a pandemic by covering it up, and the other is led by a man who is utterly unstable, a narcissist, an egomaniac, and in my opinion, absolutely has disgraced his office with the things he's come out with. The people could say, "Oh, it's just as." He, I've heard some Trump apologists say, "Well, yeah, he says these things, he doesn't really mean them, or whatever." So they utterly mitigate any sense of responsibility from the man, like he's a big child who, "Oh well, little Donald's just being a bit naughty, just ignore him and it'll be fine." This idea that his words don't matter, they do matter, they do, and it's just unbelievable. So Biden may not be ideal, but I am adamant at this point he will be a better president than Donald Trump. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there aren't question marks there, but Donald Trump has to be defeated this November.